In the dish this morning, Chef Brandon Boudet, who fell into cooking in the most naturally food-centric place in America, New Orleans. Born and raised in the Crescent City of French, Sicilian, and German ancestry, he was cooking by the age of 8, hugely influenced by both his grandmothers. He also learned much from two of New Orleans' favorite sons, Paul Prudhomme and Emeril Lagasse.
He later moved west and is now executive chef and co-owner of the Los Angeles cult favorites Little Dom's, 101 Coffee Shop and MiniBar, which opened last year. We are delighted to welcome Chef Brandon Boudet to the dish. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And in the latest political vernacular, these meatballs are huge.
Thank you. Thank you. We have rice balls from Little Dom's, also some large balls there too, and we have spaghetti and meatballs. We also have a little cauliflower risotto, which is actually just all cauliflower minced up to resemble rice. And we have some fried potatoes with garlic and lemon. And then to start off the meal, we have a little cocktail from MiniBar called the Bernard.
The Bernard.
This looks delicious, but this oozing dessert over here also looks delicious. What is to our left?
Yes, that's a cult favorite from the 101 Coffee Shop, the Waffle Brownie Sundae.
It almost feels alive because it keeps dripping.
I like the combination of all of those things. As we mentioned in the introduction, I mean, you were heavily influenced by both of your grandmothers, and you also had these two amazing chefs, but I love that you said your grandmothers seemed to be a bigger influence, you've realized.
Yeah, like all the different events that happened in our family's household, it was always surrounded by food. Yeah. So it was just like food was always a major part of it.
Mm-hmm. But now I understand you came up with a clever little recipe when you were about 7 years old that you think actually was pretty influential.
Yes, so the first grade Valentine's Day gift to our mothers was a cookbook that was created by the teacher. And so everyone came up with their recipe. And most of the recipes, I have to say, were not that great. But mine was like very, very detailed, very detailed. It was banana toast. Toast the bread, lightly butter it, sprinkle it with cinnamon sugar, preheat broiler.
Sounds really good.
Wow.
And you tested this out already, I think.
Yeah, it had already been tested out
Preheat
by
boiler is
kindergarten.
impressive for an 8-year-old.
No,
yeah.
it had it all down to the T. And so, yeah, I think at that point,
You kind of knew?
I kind of knew.
How influential did Emeril and Paul end up being in your cooking, do you think?
It was like early on in my career, and it just showed me like how to like really like run a restaurant and just see how just like there was like love put into that food. It wasn't like crazy, eccentric, out of the way food, but it was just like really down home, really good food.
And you were with Emeril fairly early on. He wasn't quite a rock star yet.
Right, it was before those days.
I want to ask you about that simple philosophy because it certainly has followed you. I saw that you said things rarely need more than 3 ingredients. Do chefs often make that mistake, you think?
Yeah, and it's like we talked about that, and it's like it just needs just sort of simple 3-4 things on the plate, and like everything needs to be edible on the plate, and it shouldn't be too high or too low or whatever. Just something to capture, and just it's really not about the food all the time. It's also about the atmosphere and everything that you go into and you have that dining experience. And I think that's where people kind of lose it a little bit. They don't quite understand.
You've also said that a chef has to be humble.
Yes.
Why is that important?
I think a little bit of insecurity goes a long way.
Yeah.
I do.
In what sense, though? I mean, do you feel like it has made you work harder all the time?
Just, I think a little bit of self-doubt, like it just helps you. Like you can't like harp on it, but like just that little bit of insecurity about is that the best it can be? And you're like, you know, sometimes you walk away and you're like, you know what, that is the best. We nailed it. It's great. And then there's sometimes where it's like, you know what, I could have did a little bit better job. And it's like you constantly have to do that throughout life, I think, for yourself to be successful.
You should not be insecure about these meatballs at all.
Thank
They're
you.
absolutely delicious.
Thanks
As
a
I
lot.
hand you this dish and get your signature on it, I want to ask you if you could have this meal with any person, past or present, who would that person be?
I have to say that Alan Toussaint was a favorite musician of mine back from New Orleans, and that would be super fun. And of course, family, and then also one of my uncles that's recovering from surgery right now. I think that would be a super fun dinner to have.
Well, this would be a perfect post-surgery meal, too. Chef Brandon Boudet, thank you so much. And for more on Brandon and the dish, please head to our website at cbsthismorning.com.